One Punch Man Chapter 120. The only necessary thing is strength. So this is like a mild chapter, kind of wrapping up the little mini Drive Night Neon arc that we've just been through these past 2 months. And it was, informative and entertaining, but not the most exciting. But, not every chapter is going to be a banger, as I always say. But let's get into it. So in a surprising turn of events, Food Battler lost all of his fat in a couple minutes just running with Waganma into a completely emaciated state. And I guess it means that he literally does need to keep eating in order to maintain some type of body weight. I mean, I don't know what'll happen if he doesn't eat at all, but it doesn't look good. And as he says, he has a special body that can instantly turn ingested nutrients into fat, and then he can keep going as long as he has fat left in stock. So he'll be fine as long as he eats something. So I guess him eating and gaining the fat gives him somewhat superhuman abilities. I mean, of course, not on the S-class level, but we saw he is somewhat effective in combat. At least in Chapter 94, he was pretty nimble, and he was evading monsters and everything like that. Especially something that is more capable than the other C-class or maybe even B-class heroes too. And we have to remember that he was selected for this team for a reason. It's not just weaklings. It was people that have certain kind of potential to them, and their ranking doesn't necessarily represent their actual abilities in combat. And also the mask that he wears allegedly keeps track of the calories he's ingesting. So yeah, very interesting. I don't know what the significance is to this, but I suppose there is some kind of significance. But there might be a reason why this is put out there. It might be giving us some insight into Pig God. Maybe this is why Pig God needs to eat. Maybe he has the same type of body. Maybe if Pig God doesn't eat, he'll become emaciated like this, and maybe eating and he can convert his own fat into the superhuman levels of power that he has. Maybe this is just another power dynamic in this world. Instead of getting buff, Darkshine, Purry Purry, and the Tank Top, there's a secret to power through fat, and we're seeing it with Food Battler and Pig God possibly too. And I also like the whole little comical aspect here about where Neon strikes didn't slash him because he just coincidentally cut in between his folds. Then we get the sound effects jelly jelly. So this might mean that Food Battler also has a luck stat to him too. And also this isn't weird continuity errors or anything like that, because actually if you go back to the other previous chapters, there is no blood coming out of him after that slash. It does line up. It just somehow worked out that way. And when I was talking about it on the One Punch Man podcast, we thought maybe it was a mistake or something, but no, it turns out that he just legitimately did not get cut, so that was interesting too. So it turns out Genos is the one that throws everybody on his back and runs them to the evacuation point, just like Bomb took Death Gatling Squad and running away from Elder Centipede. I talked about this happening a lot in my reviews leading up to this, but I thought it was going to be Drive Knight doing this. But no, because Drive Knight is a piece of crap and one of the biggest villains in the series, so it's naturally going to be Genos doing this. Another interesting thing is that when Genos requests to take Drive Knight as well, he's like, nah, I'll just get out of here myself, which further plays into Drive Knight being a lying piece of crap, because he said he had no power left, he couldn't even move, but evidently he can move, and we'll go into Drive Knight later because there's some things I need to say about him. But this isn't, I don't think, giving us more insight into Genos' strength, in case you're wondering. We already knew Genos was at least as strong as Tank Top Master, at least in his EC form, as per what Garo said. So we already knew that he was capable of strength feats like this. I'm sure a lot of the S-Class, if not almost all of them, are capable of replicating this feat. But then along the way, he runs into 2 monsters that we haven't seen before, just fodder guys, so I guess we're just lingering on rooftops, waiting for any stragglers. These guys remind me a lot of the Demodogs from Stranger Things. I'm sure they reminded you of too, especially when they open their mouths. I'm sure that's what Murata was inspired by with these dudes. But these guys are allowing us to see some of the craziness that Daedric Genos is capable of. So he doesn't just have blasters on his palms anymore, but they just straight up open on his arms. He has 4 on each, and we just see 8 little mini beams come out and vaporize these dudes. And they open like mouths, as what Murata showed us last year on his stream when he was originally drawing Daedric Genos. We talk about this in my Daedric Genos Explained video, that they're going to open up clawed teeth mouth things, and it's very cool. It kind of reminds me of Arlong's mouth from One Piece. But this is also showing how cool this friggin' design is. This is the most demon-y the Demon Cyborg has ever looked. He straight up looks like a villain, and I'm digging it. I can't wait to see more of this. This is probably my favorite Genos design so far. So then Genos makes it to the border of Z City and he meets up with the evacuation team there, and I like this. I wasn't really sure of the logistics of how this rescue was going to go down. I don't think they explained it to this extent before, but it's showing us that they have like their own SWAT team, like a Hero Association, like Special Task Force, or whatever you want to call them. And this is another thing I don't think was ever shown before, and if it was, I don't think it was ever emphasized the way it is here. So that, it's setting up how this was going to work, because I thought maybe they were going to have to take them all the way to the Hero Association, but no, they have like a middleman here, and that just clears that up. So then we get to the point of where like Second Gar is like injecting himself with some feel-good juice. I like that. It makes him just look cool. He kind of reminds me of like Bruce Willis from Die Hard in this sequence, because he has like the white beater on. But then he calls Sitch, or at least Sitch calls him. And he's like, yeah, Demon Cyborg helped us. And he's like, Demon Cyborg? Oh, what a surprise. And that's why he wants to talk to Genos immediately. And then he's like, oh, I'm sorry that, we didn't tell you about the mission. I'm sorry we excluded you from it. And this is because they were suspicious of him at first. Mainly because of Child Emperor. I talked about this a few times in multiple videos throughout the 2 weeks, but Metal Knight tells Child Emperor that there's like somebody else lurking in the shadows, and that Child Emperor shouldn't trust anyone, especially close to him. And that led Child Emperor to be suspicious of Genos, mainly because of the whole origin of Genos, how, his whole entire hometown was wiped out and he was the only one that survived. And also Genos lives in Z City, as per with Saitama, and that's the base of the Monster Association. I mean, it does make sense for him to be suspicious of him, but Metal Knight, Dr. Bufoy, was actually talking about Drive Knight and the organization in this sequence, but he was being so ambiguous about it that Child Emperor was just confused. But now this is like proving to the Hero Association, especially Second Gar and Sitch, that Genos is in fact trustworthy. And then I like that Genos is just like, that's cool. Well, I wasn't really going to listen to you guys anyway. I'm kind of just doing my own thing. And he's like, with all due respect, sir, you should probably go to SawCon. So back to Piece of Crap Drive Night. So it turns out Neon is in fact alive, as a lot of us expected, but I didn't think that he was going to have like the 9 lives Zenkai boost type of Phoenix Man-esque dynamic to him. I thought he was just going to regain consciousness, more or less. I mean, there was a reason why there was so much emphasis put on him and his corpse and whatnot, and how Drive Night says it's retrieved and everything. Like, I don't think he was just carrying around like a dead body. More or less, he was just neutralized, and he was just so conscious so that he could use him, and that's in fact what he's going to do. So he says he's going to do dissection study and use it as a reference for biological weapon replicas. And then he says, like, you understand, don't you, Genos? We want to become stronger. It's necessary to conduct research and learn from these unknown life forms. So we can read into this a little too much, and I think it might be some subtle jab at Genos here. Now, maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but I think what Drive Night is saying here, even if we just disregard what he's saying about mankind using animals as reference and stuff, I think he might be talking about Genos using G4 to improve himself. So, of course, Drive Night can't straight reveal that he knows this, because how would he? But I think Drive Night does know that because, he's the master of the organization, and he would know that Genos originally defeated G4 and used him to upgrade himself. I think that might be what he's actually saying here if we read between the lines. So like I said, either he is saying it or he's not, but pretty clever if he actually is. So Neon is conscious enough to spit out some dialogue, and he's like, if I knew in advance, I would have never fought him. Not only is there a guy who can defeat cadres with one punch easily, there's also a guy who wants to dissect cadres and turn us into props. And this sets off the light bulb in Genos' head. He's like, oh, guy that can defeat cadres with one punch. That's got to be Master Saitama. That kind of puts 2 and 2 together because, back in Chapter 106, when Saitama one punch Overgrown Rover, it sent that shockwave, got a whole bunch of reactions, and Genos was one of them when he was cleaning dishes. Shout out to Satsuki the Savage. So he's like, okay, that confirms it. Saitama has definitely joined the battle, and it's like, okay, I'm definitely going back now. And he's like, even if you didn't ask me to, I was going to go back. So that's like giving Genos a reason to return to the battle because, he's got to go back because things are going to start lining up with the webcomic at this point. And this is also like what I was saying about why the support team, Waganma, and Second Guard need to get out of there because things are going to continue more or less the exact same way or the same beats that they do in the webcomic from here on out. And since those characters are all like exclusive to the manga along with their storyline, they're not going to be a part of that. And after that, like, Genos gets the hard drive, I guess, or a flash drive or something, that with all of the info that Drive Knight had on the executives. So Genos is going to be briefed on this. I don't know if it's going to give them their weaknesses or anything like that, but at least he's going to know what he's... after this point. So what happens after this? A really big event is going to happen in the following chapters. Those of you, of course, who have read the webcomic know what's going to happen, but just expect something huge to happen within the next 3 chapters. Now that, like, the playing field is set, and I certainly can't wait to see how this is going to play out in the manga. But that's pretty much it for the review, guys. Let me know what you thought about this one, and if you liked it, please give it a like. Also have a Patreon, gives you access to a weekly Q&A, and if you haven't already, please subscribe as well. Have a great